Africa gets $60 billion annually. Here's where it vanishes. Africa receives approximately $60 billion in official development assistance annually as of 2024, according to the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, OECD. That's real money, roughly equivalent to Kenya's entire GDP, gross domestic product. Yet the narrative persists. Despite decades of charity concerts, celebrity campaigns, and Western guilt-driven donations, African nations remain synonymous with poverty in the global imagination. The question isn't whether the money exists, it's where the hell it goes. The answer is uncomfortable and complex. Start with debt servicing. African nations collectively owe over $1.1 trillion to foreign creditors as of 2023. Much of the aid they receive immediately flows back to Western banks and Chinese lenders as debt repayment. The International Monetary Fund, IMF, and World Bank often attach conditions to loans that force countries to prioritize debt service over healthcare or education. Ghana, for instance, spent 70% of its 2023 government revenue on debt payments. When a country receives $500 million in aid but pays $800 million in debt service the same year, the net flow is negative. The money arrives with one hand and leaves with the other. Then there's the NGO, non-governmental organization, industrial complex. The average international NGO operating in Africa spends 40 to 60% of donations on administrative costs, salaries, and overhead before a dollar reaches the ground. A 2022 investigation by the New Humanitarian found that top executives at major international development charities earn $400,000 to $600,000 annually. Field coordinators, the expatriates living in capital cities, pull six-figure salaries plus housing allowances, security details, and private school tuition for their children. The system creates perverse incentives. NGOs need poverty to persist to justify their budgets. Success means unemployment. Corruption eats the rest. Transparency International ranks 40 of the world's most corrupt 50 countries in sub-Saharan Africa. When donors channel funds through government ministries, significant portions evaporate into private accounts. Nigeria's former petroleum minister, Diazani Alison Madueke, allegedly stole $2.5 billion during her tenure. South Africa's state capture inquiry revealed systematic looting of state resources exceeding $34 billion between 2014 and 2018. Kenya loses an estimated $6 billion annually to corruption, nearly matching its entire aid intake. Donors know this happens, yet continue funneling money through the same compromised channels because directly bypassing governments undermines sovereignty and creates parallel power structures. But here's where the narrative gets interesting. Africa isn't failing. That's the myth. 7 of the world's 10 fastest-growing economies in 2024 are African, according to the IMF. Ethiopia grew 7.2% annually from 2000 to 2020. Rwanda's GDP per capita quadrupled since 2000. Technology adoption is exploding. Kenya's M-Pesa mobile money system processes more transactions than Western Union globally. Nairobi has more tech startups per capita than Silicon Valley. The problem isn't lack of progress. It's that aid-dependent relationships and disaster-focused Western media coverage obscure genuine development. Television cameras show starving children in refugee camps, not Ghanaian software engineers or Nigerian filmmakers. Nollywood is the world's second-largest film industry by volume. The aid architecture itself perpetuates dependency. Donors fund specific projects, a school here, a well there, without building institutional capacity. When the 5-year grant ends, the school closes because no sustainable funding mechanism exists. USAID, United States Agency for International Development, spent $47 million building roads in Afghanistan that deteriorated within 3 years because nobody trained local engineers in maintenance or created budgets for upkeep. The same pattern repeats across Africa. Aid becomes a band-aid covering systemic governance problems that only Africans can solve. Meanwhile, genuine wealth extraction continues. Multinational corporations exploit tax loopholes to shift $88 billion in profits out of Africa annually, according to a 2020 United Nations study. That's more than total aid inflows. The final piece is phantom aid, money that never leaves donor countries. Roughly 30% of development assistance is tied aid, requiring recipients to purchase goods and services from donor nations. When the UK gives Tanzania $100 million for infrastructure, the contract goes to British construction firms, British consultants design the project, and British equipment suppliers provide materials. Tanzania receives a road, but $70 million stayed in Britain. Student scholarships count as aid, even though the money pays European universities. Refugee hosting costs in donor countries count as aid. By OECD rules, when Germany houses Syrian refugees in Munich, that spending counts toward its foreign aid commitment. The accounting is deliberately opaque.